Welcome to AUDL Weekly. This is the program all about ultimate stories, perspectives, conversations, and more. I'm Evan Lepler, and tonight is the first time ever that I'm doing the show not from my home studio, but instead I'm in Ohio at the World Ultimate Club Championships. Honestly, one of my biggest takeaways from being here so far this week is how it feels like a big Frisbee reunion. I feel like I've seen someone from almost every AUDL team. It's cool to connect with so many different people. It's a good time here in Ohio and some real high-quality ultimate. But we're also coming down the stretch of the AUDL regular season with just one more weekend left, and we've got a really good show for you here tonight. Coming up, a very chatty and contemplative edition of Toss-Up with Adam and Daniel. And then later, we'll see Portland Nitro superstar Leandro Marx in the upline and out-of-bounds hot seat with Matt Smith. Don't want to miss that. But first, great to toss around the Week 13 results and look at what they mean in the bigger picture as we come down the stretch. Fastest 3 minutes in Frisbee on the way as you watch AUDL Weekly on AUDL.tv. So stick around. All right, welcome back. 10 games in the league this past weekend, and another good weekend for road teams. Visitors going 6-4 in Week 13. Home teams now just 2 games above 500 for the season, 70-68 with 12 regular season games left. Most important road result of the weekend probably came in Indy, where the Minnesota Wind Chill outplayed the AlleyCats, earning the 24-21 victory. That means the AlleyCats need either a win in Atlanta or a Madison loss against Chicago this weekend for Indy to make the playoffs. New York Empire have been responsible for 6 road wins this season. Most recently, a 24-19 triumph in Philly on Friday. Empire finished the regular season with a perfect 12-0 record for the second time in 3 seasons. This one, though, far more dominant than their 2019 undefeated record, when they also went 12-0, but only won by about 3-4 goals per game. Also on Friday, the Salt Lake Shred scored 9 of the last 12 goals against Los Angeles, transforming a 13-10 third-quarter deficit into a 19-16 win in front of their raucous home fans. That result officially secured a home playoff game for the Shred in their inaugural AUDL season. And that playoff battle will be against the San Diego Growlers, who swept a pair of road games in the Pacific Northwest this past weekend. Growlers beat Seattle by 4 and Portland by 5 to improve to 8-3. Both the Shred and Growlers, one regular season game left before the upcoming playoff clash, scheduled for Saturday, August 13th. Elsewhere in Week 13, the DC Breeze were frankly outplayed for the first few quarters, but they did enough late in the game to escape Boston with a 23-21 overtime victory. The Breeze and the Philadelphia Phoenix both hosting Ottawa this weekend before they square off in DC. The Breeze and the Phoenix in the first round of the East playoffs, also on August 13th. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Hustle are still alive in their pursuit of a playoff spot thanks to a 27-20 win over Dallas on Friday night. Hustle need the Soul to beat the Cannons this weekend, or Hustle need the Cannons to beat the Soul this weekend, I should say, for Atlanta to have a chance. Speaking of the Cannons, of course, Tampa Bay winless no more after they win a back-and-forth battle against Dallas. 17-15, the low-scoring final on Saturday night. And the Legion falling to 0-11. They have a chance to get the Cannons back and avoid the winless season. Tampa Bay in Dallas this weekend. They play at Dallas on Saturday and Austin on Friday. 2 other quick scores to mention. Chicago winning comfortably in Pittsburgh, 23-15. Union improved to 9-1. Union have 2 games this weekend at Madison and home for Detroit. And Oakland getting its 4th win in their last 5 games. They started the season 0-5, but the Spiders get the 22-18 win over LA On Saturday, Oakland will see both the Aviators and Growlers again this weekend as they finish their season with the Southern California doubleheader. That's the rundown from Week 13, and we'll start to look ahead to the final weekend of the regular season with Adam and Daniel after this short break. Toss-up coming up here on AUDL Weekly. And we're back with today's toss-up, joined by Adam Ruffner and Daniel Cohen. Gentlemen, thanks for being here yet again. Adam, you're calling the game this Friday, so let's just start with a simple toss-up question. Who's winning in Madison on Friday night, the Union or the Radicals?
I mean, this is Madison's season. The thing is that we've said this now, I feel like 2 to 3 times already in 2022. So while there is definitely an importance to this game and the Radicals know it, I'm worried that they're almost a little fatigued and desensitized at this point. It felt this way going into the Indy game almost 2 weeks ago. And not only did they lose that game to the AlleyCats, they dropped it by the 2-goal margin that they couldn't. And so right now, I just don't know what to believe with Madison. They're banged up. They're dealing with a lot of injuries and absences to starters. And the Union right now are playing really good. They're a little sloppy at times, but they have that competitiveness. They look like the best team in the division right now. And I just think with that momentum and with the offensive playmakers that they have right now, and Jeff Weiss and Pavlianis and everyone else that's sort of clicking on that Union O, I like Chicago and Breeze Stevens this Friday. So I'm going to take the Union. But I do think Madison is going to put up a fight. Their defense has been impressive over the past couple games. And so I do think it's going to be another, traditional late season Breeze Stevens matchup between these two teams. It's going to be 1 to 2 goals. I expect it to be close through the fourth quarter. But I do think Chicago will prevail. And I do think that they're going to dash Madison's postseason hopes for the 3rd straight season.
Not quite a Cohen hedge right there, Adam, but a little scintilla of a hedge. Saying it's going to be close to fair. Anyway, Daniel, what do you think?
Hedge on a hedge. I'm hedging on hedging.
I've heard rumors that a good amount of players are expected to miss this game for Madison. I mean, they're a little bit more banged up. Chicago is going to have a few more absences too, but I just feel like Chicago is a little bit better suited to deal with those depth issues. Like they feel like the stronger, deeper team. We've seen their offense missing guys like Eli Artemakis, Paul Arders. They've never seemed to really miss a beat all season, and that includes when they played Madison earlier this year. Madison only had 5 break opportunities against Chicago in that game. And while I agree with Adam, I think the Madison defense is going to make the Chicago team work. Like, if they're only getting 5 break opportunities, there's only so much they can do to really rally and pull ahead in this game. So I think the Chicago offense, I just trust more. They're the 3rd most efficient offense in the league right now. I just don't know if Madison has the pieces right now to really keep pace with Chicago for a full game.
Well, the Chicago Union may have already clinched the number 1 seed, but I ran into Jeff Weiss here at the World Championships and asked him if he was playing on Friday night, and he was like, yeah, I won't miss a game at Breeze Stevens Field. So there is still that mystique about the opportunity of playing at that venue in front of that crowd and another rep at that stadium, perhaps before a championship weekend appearance where the Union have unfinished business. So looking forward to that game Friday night. Adam, look forward to hearing the call.
I just want to say, and that man saying that right now is a problem for Madison. Jeff Weiss has been on fire the past month. I think he's averaging over 400 yards receiving in his last 4 games or something. He's who I'm talking about right now in that Union offense. He's been incredible for Chicago this season.
He has been a problem for defenses around the division. All right, topic number 2, we're talking about defense. Top 2 block getters in the league. Daniel, which defender has impressed you more this season? Toronto's Phil Turner or Minnesota's Dylan DeClercq?
think I got to go with DeClercq on this one. And it's really just the consistency we've seen from a lot of these Central Division opponents. Like, for DeClercq to still be able to wreak havoc on a very good Chicago offense and at times good Indy offense, Madison offense, like, he's been doing this for years now. And the year-to-year consistency, but in addition, just like, it never seems to matter who his opponents are. Like, his opponents can be playing these really tight, low turnover games, but he's still going to get his, whether he's poaching the underneath space or laying out on his matchup defender. I just think Phil Turner benefits a little bit more from maybe some ill-advised shots in Canada, and he benefits from being a big presence in the deep space. But I also want to give credit to Dylan DeClercq's offensive game this season. He's up over 20 goals. I think he's at 21 this season. It's his highest total since his rookie year in 2016 when he scored 30. And that was playing a chunk of O points. He's only played 4 O points this year, but he's been like one of the primary weapons scoring goals on the counterattack for Minnesota. So I just continue to be impressed with his game and the fact that he just shows no signs of slowing up in the Central Division.
Adam.
I want to give all respect to Dylan DeClercq continuing his streak of 20-plus block seasons. I think he's deserving of a nickname at this point, something like the Eel or something, for the way he just, like, snakes around in those lanes. He had such a good block this last week against Indy on the goal line where an Indy player cut up line. It was not DeClercq's matchup, and he was simply spying the lane, turned over his blind shoulder, and got a block in the end zone. And I just think that that's so representative of how heads up DeClercq has played in this Minnesota defense. But I think in terms of raw impressiveness, it's got to go to Turner right now. I mean, I was kind of expecting his blocks to drop off after the Canada Cup season he had last year, where he actually led the league in blocks per game in 2021. He hasn't diminished at all against tougher competition this year. And on a Toronto defense where it's Phil Turner and I don't know who, it really goes to show you he's taking the top matchups every week on a Toronto defense that is so young and still developing, and he's still getting these kind of takeaway numbers. And you go and look at him, he's just a matchup nightmare. He's kind of like a Nate Goff of Canada. His size and mobility with that size is just difficult for almost anyone who he clamps down on. So with all due respect again to DeClercq, I'm just going to pick Turner because I think in a defense where it's him and a bunch of other sort of people to assist him, he's been so impressive for the Rush.
Like Nate Goff, he's pretty darn good off a turn playing offense, whether it's catching or throwing. And you could say the same thing about Dylan DeClercq, Danley. You talked about it. He is a beast scoring goals after a turn. All right, from two guys who've had great seasons, let's talk about a few teams who have not had the great seasons, although it just depends on how you look at it. 3 East Division teams are done with a regular season record of 4-8. Daniel, it's a 3-way toss-up. I guess I'm coming to Adam first. 3-way toss-up. Which 4-8 team from the East has the best chance to make the playoffs next year in 2023? Boston, Montreal, or Toronto?
I think given Montreal's backslide over the last 2 months and just the inconsistencies through the first 2 seasons with Boston, I've got to go with this young Toronto team. I really like the skeleton framework of what they rebuilt after a complete overhaul following the 2021 season. I mean, we talk about era changes or new tides. Like, I don't think there's been a new era like this Rush team after what they just went through from, 2013 through 2019, where they won almost 100 games. And yet we were so skeptical about the Rush heading into this season. And I think after even a few of their first results where they were quite frankly getting blown out. But when you start to see Luke Comire and James Lewis and Ryan Polaz really anchoring that offense, Phil Turner on defense, and just I think the general youthful commitment, buy-in, energy that they have right now, as well as a couple of athletic projects to work on, I really like how the Rush are rounding into form. I mean, if they would have picked off Philly, and they were pretty close to doing it in their last matchup, they would have at least entered into a possibility zone of making the playoffs this year. And I think that is a tremendous credit to the Rush players, as well as head coach Adrian Yearwood, a longtime former captain for the Rush, now taking over in his first season. He's done such a good job at Toronto, and I just think all arrows are pointing up right now for Toronto. I'm really excited to see where they rebuild on their historical foundation with this new group of guys.
Adam, the only thing that surprised me is you didn't mention your favorite young player in the league, Oscar Stonehouse. I'm surprised you didn't drop that name in there.
I know. I love Stonehouse. Best hair in the league. Best mullet ever.
All right, Daniel. Boston, Montreal, or Toronto, which one has the best chance to make the playoffs next year?
Yeah, I'm torn between Montreal and Toronto. Toronto, I think, is on the right trajectory, and they are definitely going the right direction. We've seen this backslide by Montreal after winning their first 3 games to start the season. However, I still think I'm going to go with Montreal as the most likely. They didn't have Vincent Lemieux this year, so they had no complement to Jacob Brissett in the backfield. I think their top offensive line is extremely talented, and I hope they can put together the consistency next year with a healthy Kenton Bonneau, Sasha Posakolsky, Yep Brissett and Lemieux in the backfield with Quinlan downfield still. There's a lot of potential there, and I need to see the week-to-week consistency, but I think historically they are typically a more consistent lineup team than what we saw this year. They had some injuries, dealing with the World Games too, so commitments were a little shaky. I'm hopeful that they get back on track next year. I think their top line I trust more than Toronto at this point, but it's hard not to like the direction Toronto is trending for sure. So Austin, I'm done with.
Can I ask a follow-up? Do you like the offensive trio of Jacob Brissett, Vincent Lemieux, and Quinton Bonneau, or Luc Comire, Ryan Polas, and James Lewis for Toronto? You say that you have more trust in Montreal, but I really like that foundation with the rest are building
but
on.
It goes deeper in Montreal. It's still Sasha Posakolsky and Quinlan and OJ Samar when he's playing offense, and I think they just have a few more pieces that they can. Yeah, CTJ on defense. Right?
Defense.
Yeah, they have a little bit more of that top end depth. But I love those guys who just listed for Toronto.
Those 3, if you're building an offense around either of those 3 trios, which are you taking right now?
I think I'd be more excited about the Toronto trio based on those 3 that you chose. James Lewis, I'm a big fan of, and I'm going to throw Wilkie Lewis as a 3B. Extension of the trio as well.
Wilkie's fantastic. I just want to say James Lewis scored 50 goals this season, and I don't even know if I would have marked him on my radar after last year. I think he really maybe deserves our consideration for most improved this year.
For sure.
So here's the crazy thing. I love the cases that both of you made for your respective teams, but I think there's a good case to make for Boston too. They were 4-8. They took a crappy roster to Canada. Commitment has been the issue for them. In week 2, if they bring a different... I know, but there are the pieces that if they can get the right leadership and get the right buy-in, you could easily flip 4-8 to 7-5 this year. That's the case for Boston.
It's just that it's back-to-back seasons now where it's been just the same story of no Tanner Johnson for half the year, no Orion Cable.
And so you're right. They do not deserve the benefit of the doubt.
And I struggle to believe that they'll get there. Yeah,
you're right.
But I see the case for sure.
Totally fair skepticism. All right, we're rambling today. Let's move on to topic number 4. And I'll start this with a true fact. In every single AUDL season, a team with at least 3 losses has advanced to championship weekend. You can look it up. It's true. So with that context, Daniel, which of these 3-loss teams is most likely to make the semifinals in Madison next month? The Growlers, the Wind Chill, or the Soul?
This is a good one, Evan. I like it. I like this stat too. I would not have expected that was the case, that there's always a 3-loss team at championship weekend, especially because this year all those teams that you mentioned feel like pretty clear, maybe not clear underdogs, but definitely skeptical of any of their ability to make it. But of those 3, I'll get to my answer here. I'm going to take Minnesota as the most likely. They've played Chicago extremely close the past 2 games. I mean, they won their second matchup of the season against them, really by controlling that game for the bulk of it and then closing out that fourth quarter. I think their game in Minnesota really could have gone either way. It was just a few key momentum plays for the Chicago defense down the stretch that allowed Chicago to pull ahead. But we remember that Central Division Championship game last year. Minnesota was the better team for almost the entire game, and it was just a bad string of events late in the game that allowed Chicago to pull ahead. I mean, you could make the argument that that's now happened twice in the past 2 years, that Chicago has shown this late game ability against Minnesota, but just with how back and forth these offenses go, like that game in Minnesota was basically tied, you know, up and down the entire, like really the entire game, definitely the second half. And I just feel like Minnesota is right there. Their offense is operating nearly as efficiently as Chicago is in recent weeks. So I think they're coming together at the right time, and I can definitely see them taking the Central Division Championship game this year.
Adam, it looked like you were surprised by Daniel's response.
I thought he was going to pick Austin. He's been riding Austin really high.
I was actually between San Diego and Minnesota, actually. Wow. But I like Austin too.
Yeah. I thought you liked them because they beat Carolina already. They've got that quality win, but I guess the Flyers are picking up some momentum. I had such a hard time with this one too. I think it's probably the best question you've asked, Evan.
Good work, Evan.
I'm going to go with San Diego right now. I think that the way the West has looked the past couple of weeks has diminished my impressions of Colorado and Salt Lake. And I just think, given that kind of uncertainty, that's where the Growlers have always shown in this division over the past couple of years. In a division that has such a lack of consistency, basically since the Bay Area teams went away in 2017. Well, the other Bay Area team, I should say, in 2017, it's really felt like an up-for-grabs division almost every single season. And I think that you see teams like San Diego and Los Angeles making some traction because of their ability to simply have that core, have that institutional knowledge, and sort of persevere when times get tough. And right now, I'm a little worried about the expansion teams doing that in one-game formats in the playoffs against the Growlers team who's just been there before. I think being there before has really come through as a big lesson this season. I think we've seen the most amount of 2 chalk games almost ever. It's just felt like the season of favorites. And so even though San Diego might enter as the 3rd seed, they still kind of feel in my head like they deserve that bit of credence that they've won over the past few seasons. So I'm going to go with the Growlers right now. I also think it has to do with the quality of competition in Chicago and Carolina that Minnesota and Austin will have to respectively face. They're really good teams peaking right now, and it feels a bit different out in the West. It feels like Salt Lake might have already had their best games. It feels like Colorado might have already had their best games, and I don't know if we've seen the best from the Growlers yet.
Couple points for Colorado. Jay Frood's injured hamstring is going to be very important, whether he can get back. And also Alex Atkins had an injury. I understand he may be back, but it's not clear. Adam, 6 weeks ago, you were so down on the Growlers. How did they turn you around?
Gutty wins, just doing what they need to. They're so unsexy right now. They're not like a team who you want to rank super high on your AUDL.TV tune-in rankings, but they're just winning. Their defense is playing well when it needs to. They're providing pressure. They just held 2 straight opponents under 20 goals. Mind you, those 2 opponents have 4 wins combined this season. But Growlers are winning the games that they have to. They're not, doing anything surprising, but that is kind of what you need right now in the West. I think, again, with sort of the dilapidation of the rest of the results in the West and sort of a mid-season miring, I don't know. And those Frood and Atkins injuries worry me. Like, Colorado looked different without Frood on the field. When they have Nutt and Frood together, they just kind of have an invincibility quality to them on offense. And you could see that without Frood, there was just that little bit of sense of opportunity from San Diego.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. The other interesting thing is the Soul only have to win one game to get to championship weekend. The Growlers and Windchill each have to win two, and yet you guys both chose the Growlers and the Windchill. And the Soul already beat Carolina this year. So, yeah, I'm proud of myself for this toss-up question and delighted that you guys like it. Thank you both for being here this week. It was a long segment, but it was a good one. And we're going to move on. Coming up next, it's Leandro Marx with Matt Smith and Upline Out of Bounds. But first, another Cohen's Cut.
What's up, AUDL fans? Daniel Cohen here with this week's Cohen's Cut. Today we're going to be looking at a Los Angeles Aviators set play and how it creates an open huck opportunity for the offense. So in this clip from the 2019 West Division Championship game, the Aviators get ready to initiate their offense from their own side of the field. The San Diego Growlers come out in a defense designed to take away immediate deep looks as they set up on Aviators handler Aaron Weaver. So first we have Growlers defender Sam Fontaine setting a straight up mark on Weaver, rather than a typical mark that you might see set up at an angle to force the disc to give inside. By standing directly in front of the disc, Fontaine is prioritizing stopping downfield looks by taking away a greater throwing area in front of the handler. Paired with this mark is a Nate Bridges handler poach, where he's leaving the second handler open to take away a downfield throwing lane. So with the two handler defenders positioned as they are, Weaver's downfield options are extremely limited. Now recognizing this are the two critical pieces of this offensive set. You have the second handler, Tim Beatty, and the initiating cutter, Tyler Bacon. Watch Beatty make a move to cut behind the disc to the open side, away from the handler poach. As he jogs across the field, watch as Tyler Bacon downfield runs parallel to Beatty. Here, Bacon is anticipating the disc to get dumped off, so what he's doing is he's setting up his cut to time it up with that initial reset. This anticipation pays off, as Bacon is off running just before Weaver dumps the disc to Beatty. With Bridges poaching the throwing lane and Fontaine marking Weaver, Beatty is given an unmarked throw on the far side of the field. So with the defenders no longer in position to prevent the huck, Beatty launches a backhand deep out to space, where Bacon is able to easily run onto it for the score. The goal is a result of using that second handler to change the offense's angle of attack and get defenders out of position, and then having a well-timed downfield cut to take full advantage of an unmarked throw. Thanks for watching. Hope you'll join me next time for another Cohen's Cut.
What's up, AUDL world, and welcome to the last regular season episode of Upline and Out of Bounds. Today, I am joined by an AUDL rookie who is absolutely lighting it up, Mr. Leandro Marx from out in Portland. How's it going, Leandro?
Good, thanks for having me.
Yeah, happy to have you on, and for the audience to learn a little bit more about you, because you are killing it out there. So with that, we'll jump into the rapid fire intro. First question. Hometown.
I'm from Portland, Oregon.
Oh, hometown hero. Very cool. Yeah. Current age.
I just turned 25 a few months ago.
Nice. College. If you attended college, where did you attend? And if so, what degree did you get?
I went to University of Oregon. Shout out Oregon Ego. And I got a degree in biology.
Cool. And are you putting that degree to work? Current occupation is the next question.
Yeah, I'm currently in medical school at Oregon Health Sciences University.
Sweet. Gonna be a doctor? Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Very nice. All right, switching over to Ultimate here. Current position on the field?
Cutter. Wide receiver.
Nice. I'm shocked you didn't say hybrid, but I've seen you downfield and upfield. It looks great.
Yeah, I chose 82 to remind myself that I should be downfield.
I love it. Why don't you fill the audience in on your ultimate origin story?
I started playing when I was in elementary school, I guess. My dad played like a club back in the day before it was nearly as big as it is now. And so I just kind of grew up throwing a Frisbee, and yeah, that's kind of how I started playing.
Man, that's so cool. And so from elementary school all the way to the pros, I know it's only been one season, but your favorite AUDL moment so far?
I think my favorite AUDL moment was probably our preseason game. We were playing a head-to-head or back-to-back game with Onyx, and so there was all of the supporters for them, and then after our game we got to watch them play, and it was really cool to have both teams playing and really getting a lot of fans in the stadium. So it was just a really great environment. Hopefully we can have more of that in the future.
Absolutely. I remember seeing that on film, and it felt like the crowd was wild the whole night. Looked like a good night.
Yeah, it was awesome.
All right. Well, now that the audience knows you a little more, we're going to jump into today's game section. And today's game is... it's Would You Rather Ultimate Hybrid Edition. So, you may not call yourself a hybrid, but I have seen the highlights, so we are going to move forward with this. Real easy concept. I'm going to give you a few Would You Rather questions. You tell me which one you want and why.
Okay, sounds good.
First question. Someone hucks it to you. Would you rather get a big sky or a big layout?
I'm definitely more of a layout guy. Yeah, I think it's more fun. Just you don't think you're gonna get it all the way to the last second, and then just pick it up right before it hits the ground. It's the best feeling, in my opinion.
All right, you are a cutter. Downfield, big layout. All right, well, this may inform the next one, but it's on Universe Point. You're on offense. Would you rather throw the game-winning huck, nice little dime ball, or get the rundown catch on UP?
Definitely the rundown catch. Yeah, I feel like that's the way to seal off the game is in the end zone. So it feels really good, I think, to get the rundown catch.
All right. Yeah. That's my answer for sure. So I can relate. A couple more here. I actually saw that you're the team's puller when you're on D, or that you get some pulls in there. So, would you rather get a big pull that pins the other team in the end zone and leads to a turnover, or get a hand block on the goal line?
Oh, that's an easy one. Definitely the pull. I've had a few D's on pulls before, and nothing feels better. It's such a psychological game changer. Not that hand blocks aren't too, but
yeah, no, being able to pin another team back there is certainly a skill, and I've seen you throw some pretty big bombs. So good to know. All right, last one here, kind of a silly one.
Okay.
You're running it down in the end zone. I see you're a gloves guy a lot of the time. You're running it down, you doink it. Which would you rather be heckled with? A 3 hands call, or maybe it's the gloves? Which one would you rather hear from the audience?
Maybe a 3 hands call, because the gloves are just an advantage. It's definitely not the gloves.
All right, so you're hoping for a 3 hands. I like classic heckle there.
Yeah, classic heckle.
All right. Well, I appreciate you playing along today. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but before we get out of here, any last shout-outs you want to give?
Yeah, definitely shout out to all the players at Worlds right now. Hope they're having a great time. And yeah, that's about it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I know myself and the rest of the AUDL world is excited to watch you take on the Colorado Summit to finish the season out. But for now, back to Evan.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Matt, thank you. As always, great stuff with Leandro Marx, who has certainly been a fun guy to watch throughout his rookie year in the league. and it does feel like forever ago, but the Nitro took the Summit to double overtime in early May, a game that Portland easily could have won, so you just wonder how the two-team seasons might have gone in different directions had the Nitro gotten that win. Alas, they meet again in the regular season finale of the AUDL Game of the Week this Saturday night in Denver. But that's going to do it for our show here tonight. My thanks to Adam Ruffner, Daniel Cohen, Matt Smith, Leandro Marx, and also thanks to our editor extraordinaire, Luke Johnson. Thanks to you as well for checking out the show during a very busy and fun time for Ultimate. Big weekend coming up here at the World Club Championships, in addition to all the AUDL action on tap this coming weekend. But for now, I'm Evan Lepler. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy the Ultimate this week, and I'll talk to you right back here next Wednesday.